Welcome back to Ladies of Another View. On Beck, and I want to welcome back our guest, Ethan Peck. And I want to give him a proper introduction. We had a little bit of a delayed connection, so when he came on, I just threw you out there. But he is an associate with the Free Enterprise Project with the National Center for Public Policy Research. And you can go to their website at nationalcenter.org. They just have a wealth of information, and they're involved in so many different things in our culture and our society to fight back against the liberal activism that I feel like is really hurting our world. How would you describe what you do?
Well, first of all, I would describe it as illiberal activism. But what we basically do is we buy shares in big corporations, especially the woke ones, to try to get companies back to just serving their own fiduciary duties, abiding by them, and serving the interest of shareholders, and getting completely out of politics altogether and just politically neutral. We're not trying to push corporations to adopt some kind of right-wing activism the way they've adopted left-wing activism. We're just trying to depoliticize corporations and using our voice as shareholders to do so.
Mm-hmm. And so, that's a crucial role that I feel like a lot of people aren't aware goes on. How can people find out more information if this is something they want to? Do they just go to your website, or what would be the best way?
Yeah, you can go to nationalcenter.org, which is our parent organization, or you can go to freeenterpriseproject.org, and there you can email us, and you could speak to me or our deputy director or director personally, and we'll help you get engaged as a shareholder. Or you can just read one of our guides. Every year we publish annual guides, voter guides, to tell you which proposals to vote against, which proposals to vote for, which directors, what they're up to, which board members, and we sort of kind of just out all of the bad actors and their plans and their motivations, and instruct shareholders on ways that they can get involved themselves.
And I also want to talk about I just seen an interview that you did, and you were talking about medical schools and the changes that are going on there. I mean, I'm in the medical field, and I've seen the changes. We're more concerned of identifying these patients as what they want to be, but not what they actually are, and we're missing that. We're going to glaze over actually what's going wrong, but it's starting at the medical schools. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, when the National Institute of Health can't tell the difference between a male and a female, you know that everything is twisted and upside down. I think that the medical schools are particularly bad for a number of reasons. I think because so much of the research is funded by these large pharmaceutical companies. That's one. Two, academia in general has been overthrown, since the 60s and 70s by the Marxists. So you have this soup of high-level elitist academia that's funded by the worst of the pharmaceutical companies and tied to the worst government bureaucracies like the CDC and the National Institutes of Health. So the medical community is particularly woke and particularly corrupt.
They always say follow the money, and like you said, you can't get research dollars. But for a lot of people, they don't agree with this stuff, but they're afraid of losing their jobs. We've talked to people at universities, doctors. If they speak up, they're going to lose their job. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And it seems that our society is being harmed. Marxist governments have never done well. But for some reason, people haven't learned history in school, and they think, well, we can do it better this time, or now it's a good idea. But wouldn't you say the history of Marxism is to destroy societies?
Absolutely. And I'll take it a step farther. I think that if you look at the history of the Soviet Union, there was an individual named Trofim Lysenko, who was basically a state scientist in the Soviet Union. And what became known as Lysenkoism was just changing the science according to what Trofim Lysenko says is the science. And so there was no real science going on. If he said crops are grown this way, that's the way that the country grew crops. And even if it failed, it's because he said it. and you couldn't oppose it. And that's kind of what science has become in America, sort of the science. Fauci is the science, and it's not science at all. It's just top down, bureaucratic opinion passing off as science. And Marxists have a way of redefining reality this way.
So why do you feel these big corporations are woke so suddenly? Like, was it COVID? What made them ultimately like you mentioned, everything's just flipped upside down all of a sudden? Was there a turning point?
I think you could go back to Antonio Gramsci, and when he wrote, that we have to take a long march through the institutions in the 1920s and 30s, sort of overthrow all of our institutions, overthrow our universities, our media, our education system, and our religious institutions. And I think that this 100-year march through the institutions has been successful from the left. So I don't think it was kind of like really slowly and then all at once. I don't really, and COVID was sort of the breaking of the dam, and that's kind of why I think that all of this stuff kind of bubbled up to the surface in a really obvious way. But I think that a lot of it was boiling underneath for a very, very long time. We just didn't know.
So I want to know, with your free enterprise project, you're calling out these people. Do you see a turnaround? I mean, some inspiration can we leave with that don't make us feel like, oh no, what are we going to do?
Yeah, I think that just the fact that the left has been so successful, it started off this woke movement very small, and they were just putting pressure on pressure points. They were able to overthrow the society and the predominant culture. I think that just that fact alone, using their own strategies against them, and the fact that we now really know them for what they are and what their agenda is, I think that we just have to take have a long-term strategy back, and I think that eventually it'll work.
When you say we know what they are and what their agenda is, we have a lot of those people. We just had Dr. Scott Jensen on yesterday, who wrote We've Been Had, about what is it, the triad,
Big pharma,
big tech,
and
big government. And the people that we really respect, Dr. Peter Breggin, Dr. Peter McCullough, that not only are they speaking the truth, but the left is coming in and threatening their medical licenses, or people are losing jobs at colleges and universities. Well, everywhere, at corporations, if you step out and you don't walk the party line, and the party is Marxism, they're trying to silence everybody. And I think everything happens so quickly because they put everything in place. Once they got social media, now it's harder and harder. They're being taken off of platforms. They're being taken off of YouTube. Our Facebook page has been penalized continually. And so they put all their pieces in place, and the rest of us are like, what just happened? But they were so cunning, they knew what they were doing. And it seems like our best shot is to try to reverse it because of their hypocrisy, by using their own schemes against them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's definitely part of it, and that's what we do at the Free Enterprise Project. I think that another part of it is also kind of just building alternatives, building a parallel economy, what the Daily Wire is doing. Like, if Harry's Razors wants to be a trans activist, then they're just going to sell razors instead, or chocolate instead, or they're going to produce their own children's cartoons instead of Disney. I think things like that, building products and services that are not political, that just in high value, that appeal to everyday Americans. I think that capitalism will win in the end, and I think that that's a very good strategy as well.
That is the high point that we're going to leave on.
Yes.
The parallel economy. I love it. And that's going on, we're like, oh me, oh my, this is terrible. But you pointed it out. There really is a parallel economy where we're getting good products with more traditional values and not going in with all this woke stuff. So thank you, Ethan, for pointing that out to us.
Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you for joining us today. And once again, go to nationalcenter.org to learn more about the National Center for Public Policy Research. They're doing a lot of good work.